and hungry, I took you to my bosom, fed you my oil. And even when you took and wasted and left me drained, there was always love for you in my soil. Even when my older children, they tried to shame me, setting no rules for the younger ones, bringing such grief and sadness into my household. In the end, they're still my daughters and sons. I will always be there for you.
And of course, yes, we will be here for you as we're here for you right now on New Era TT Radio. This is where we go on the inside with Steve Williams, and courtesy of the Foundation for Human Development, we join with Steve to go on the inside on a Wednesday like this at around 11 o'clock. Steve, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning. How are things with you this morning?
Well, I'm just here watching this world go by, trying to keep up with the pace of it, but I'm realizing it's running faster and faster every day.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. I didn't expect Carnival to come so quickly.
No. That is how it is.
It's how it is. Yeah. It's a good time. Interesting times in Trinidad, I must say. I listened to a little bit of the discussion before we came on here. People are thinking, people are looking around, It's a good world to be in. I like the measured approach that most people have of thinking things through. Even if your opinion is biased or whatever it is, it's still giving it thought, So that's nice. That's nice to know.
So how are things on your side?
Well, okay. Got some bad news this morning. A good colleague of mine who I worked with for quite some time passed away. She was, in a lot of pain and so on. So I feel both a mixture of relief that she's in all that pain, and at the same time sadness for her passing, So that's part of it. And I didn't intend to deal with that this morning, but strange enough, based on a lot of what is happening and a lot of what are coming and sharing with me, I wanted to talk this morning about suffering. And what is this suffering all about? A strange topic, but I wanted to share some different perspective on it. And I said, oh, well, Steve, you're right you're right there, you have suffering yourself, so you're good to share. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about suffering and a little difference between pain and suffering itself. There's the natural pain of life, which comes from loss and aging and illness and death and so on. And then there's suffering, and suffering is really the stories that we pile upon reality that we live in. And I want to say a little bit about that. The Buddhists used to say pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Pain is what life delivers. Life is going to deliver pain to you one way or the other. Physical or emotional or mental is going to deliver that to you. But suffering is the ongoing story we tell ourselves about that pain. And many of us, we create our own suffering. That's what I want to talk about. And I listen to some people sometimes say, but why are we creating that? Why are you creating that for yourself? And there are different ways which we manage suffering and in which we manufacture suffering as well. And the first one is fear. Now, I'll give you an example. For a lot of people, fear is what people would say manages or controls their sense of well-being. Your fear of death, the fear of what will happen to you, the fear of losing your money, the fear of becoming poor, the fear of losing your family, the fear of your relationship being dissolved or mashing up, or somebody interfering with your children, the fear of crime in this world. Many of us, we live with that fear, but and it's okay to have fear. But sometimes our distress goes beyond our sense of reality, and our imagination takes over. And when your imagination takes over, you lose everything that is normal and real. You start to talk about things that don't even exist, can't exist, and you pile on your responses in life based on purely your imagination and the fear that lives in you. And you may be talking with somebody and they say, okay, boy, I got bad news from the doctor yesterday, it tells me I have cancer and so on. And you hear that, okay, right? So you feel sorry for the person, but you now begin to have fear for yourself, right? So you begin to imagine all kinds of things happening to you. Suddenly, every pain becomes a crisis in your life. Every thought process turns into complete fear. You start reading things all on the news. You start reading things in the media. You start running to WhatsApp. You start googling. You're going to find out more information. The more information you find out is the more it tells you that you're sick. This time, nothing is wrong with you. You have simply allowed your imagination to take over because you heard something or you saw something or some good friend of yours or family of yours got sick, and you now begin to inculcate and sort of condition yourself into that illness. So sometimes fear creates additional suffering, and we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about our decision making based purely on fear. And I remember when we had the Venezuelan crisis and the social anxiety over that, and then everybody decided to run out of Port of Spain because they say they put the army in lockdown, and the word spread and everything was on WhatsApp, and it was just total fear, no reality, none. All of us like mad ants running all over. And I'm saying, come get on the Port of Spain. And it's all based on social anxiety and fear. So sometimes we allow, and of course, it's lack of information too, because when you don't have information coming from people who you expect to have information, the fear multiplies. Okay, so yes, that may be contributing to it, but we have to remember that sometimes, especially when you are on a personal level, you have to remember that your fear must not dominate your existence. It must not take control. Otherwise, you have a kind of a suffering that you can't get out of, and it's an emotional suffering. The second one that's very familiar to me is one called stubbornness, and what I call rigid thinking. And I'll start with a story, um, a story of someone who was in a wonderful relationship, enjoying the relationship and having a good time and so on. And the person did not agree with the companion's friend, you know, and say, well, your friend can't come in my house. It's my house, and not even our house anymore. It's my house, and I don't want your friend come in here because I find he does do this and do that and so on. So you say, but we live in together as my friend. I feel my friend should be able to come home. I can't see why my friend can't come home. Say, no, my friend is not to come. Your friend is not to come here, not inside this house, etc., etc. Okay, fair enough, understandable. So it turned out that the friend couldn't come. He could not invite his friend in because then it's obvious his friend would be embarrassed if his friend were to come in, and he would be embarrassed and so on. And of course, that led to further conflicts and resentment. And over time, of course, relationship dissolved. And it resolved because there was no compromise in discussion, in thinking, or anything like that. There was just a stubborn, rigid thinking position. I am right, you're wrong. This is mine, this is not mine. This is not yours. And therefore, one will remain rigid. And sometimes you see it in the way people talk through politics and through all kinds of issues. Their thinking becomes rigid. Once your thinking is rigid and you are stubborn, There's no room for engagement. There's no room for balance. There's no room for negotiation. And that leads to suffering, suffering on your part. So you don't understand why 2 years or 6 months after all of your particular decision, a person builds resentment and anger and so on, and fights come and people dissolve and mash up and move on. And you can't understand that you have created the suffering. You created it. And some of us create suffering in our lives. We create the dissolution of relationships. We create the issues because we remain fixated on our principles. And I'm not changing. It is mine. That kind of attitude does not help. It doesn't help. The third area is needing to prove yourself. You know, many of us grow up under some strange circumstances. We never had a perfect family arrangement. Mommy, daddy, the two dogs, children, the car, the beach, the this, the that, the traveling, the vacation times together, and so on. Many of us don't grow with that kind of idealistic um, concept of family. Some of us go up with a mother alone, a grandmother alone, an aunt, a father coming, he going, a father here, a father not there. We all have different kinds of versions of our bringing. And some of us come out of that with a sense that I am not good enough. Yeah, we come out of it. Some of us are told you're not good enough. We compared with cousins, we compared with brothers, we compared with sisters, and unfortunately, parents thought that by saying those things to children, the children would improve in their lives, you know. So if I tell him that he's not as bright as his brother, it spur him on to study hard and so on. The opposite occurred, of course. But we didn't know that at the time. Now the teachers taught that way too. So we didn't know that at the time. So we have found ourselves growing up with this inner concept, I am not good enough. And when that remains with you and you don't redirect that, you don't change that concept in your mind, you begin to suffer. And it's not a physical suffering, you know, it's a mental suffering. And it comes from believing that your value sometimes depends on what people say to you, or sometimes depends on what you accomplish. So some people go to the extreme to try to prove. It's a proving thing now. You know, you try to prove you're good enough. You're doing it more and more and more. And whatever it is you have to do, you have to always be in a state of perfection, trying to prove who you are. That brings about a lot of suffering because you can't be perfect. You think you could try to be, but you can't be. So many of us sometimes have found ourselves in these kinds of situations because of the concepts we carry in our brains. And we need sometimes somebody to tell us, you know, you're a good person, you know, you're a good person. You do well, you're okay, you're a wonderful human being. Thank you for whatever you have shared with us and given us. Sometimes we only say that after the person's dead. And you go to the eulogy and you hear how wonderful this person was. But it's never said to the person face to face, look at you today. Just say, you know, I'm so happy you're in my life. I am so happy that you're such a wonderful human being. Notice I'm not saying that perfect because we mess up all the time. We say stupid things, we do stupid things. But in our essence, the essence of you is good. And we need to communicate that. When we do that, we help people to avoid a death of suffering that they go through for a lifetime of always constantly trying to prove themselves. The other one is about attachment. You know, people get attached to people, nothing wrong with that. The Buddhists say that the way to avoid suffering is not to be attached to anything. Okay, fair enough. But we all get attached. We're attached to our jobs, we're attached to our family, we're attached to friends, and so on. And sometimes when we attach, we expect specific outcomes. Okay? We expect that because you are my friend, I am expecting that you will do this for me always, or you will always be there for me. And sometimes people disappoint because they have other things to do, life goes on as it is. But when people break up, when attachments get dissolved, let's say you're in a relationship and the relationship gets dissolved and so on, you go through a kind of a darkness, a suffering, you're crying, things are bad. I've spent so much time with people who've, reached the stage of divorce and separation and so on. But what you remain attached to is not the person. It is a story about what that relationship meant for you. That's what you remain attached to. You may, is this, the relationship meant something for you. And that's what you can't let go of. You can't let go of, because that was deep, deep, deep inside of you. You remain attached to what should have been. Always what should have been. And that creates the suffering. So when you can't let go of the story, and it's usually the story about the relationship or the stories about the person, that's what you hold on to. That is what creates suffering in you. That's why you can't let go. You can't move on. You can't build your life anymore because you remain enveloped in that attachment to those stories. The final one before we open up and so on is the question of impatience. One of the things about life is that we have to try to take our time sometimes to get things done. If you notice, you get a cut, okay, and you put a little medicine on it and so on, it takes its time to heal, 2 days, 3 days, But because we are conditioned to a very, what I call a world of instant gratification, we don't even want that cut to take 2 days to heal. You can't give me something to stop that right away, and I need to move, I have things to do, and so on. That's what we are. Suffering comes from our impatience, our inability to allow things to be sometimes. That we need to rest in the assurance that healing is taking place. And I see that many times in people who have come for healing in terms of their relationships or in terms of what's going on in their lives and so on, or they've lost someone close and near and dear to their heart. And you have to be patient with yourself if this is to work through. If you to get out of this, you have to be patient. Impatience and forcing creates a lot of suffering. And it creates a suffering that turns people in all kinds of directions. So let's try to remember that a lot of it is natural. Pain is natural. Nobody promised you a perfect run, that you will always be happy. You will lose things, you will lose friends, you will lose family, you will lose people, you will get sick. Things are going to happen to you that none of it of your own making anyway, sometimes. But the suffering that we go through, a lot of it is of our own making. Through our fear, through our anxiety, our impatience, our attachment, our pride, and our stubbornness and rigid thinking. Many times, those are the things. So let's always readdress our inner self. It's the inner self that needs work on all the time. Recognizing these areas that seem to be creating that havoc within our lives. And then we can move on. I'll pause there.
Okay, so people, this is where you can get in on the show. You've been listening, and we can take your calls now at 281-1315. or 299-5156. All right. So see while I wait on any calls to come through. If there's any other thing that you want to add to the conversation, you can do so.
Yeah, well, sometimes we stay in suffering because it gives us sympathy and attention from others.
Mhm.
Many a time we don't want to get out of it because we want to tell the story. Old people, people like myself, sometimes when some things go wrong with us, we're just too happy when that phone rings to say, "Oh God, this morning was so much pain on the back, and the foot was this," and so on. So we begin to share that story of pain. Some of us, we have um, in midstream in our life, we have difficulty in our marriages or partnerships and so on, and we can't wait to talk about it. Not that we shouldn't, we have to, but we can't wait. Every time we talk about it, boy, I know to say that now I having such a hard time and so on. So some of us actually enjoy the suffering because we get attention,
Yeah.
and it doesn't help, and it just brings us into more misery, and we don't try to get out of it, because to get out of it is to face nothingness. Who am I without my suffering? That's the question.
And especially when we are living in a world, and I don't think it's so much a world. Yes, it has changed, but I think that particular part of it, especially as people age, um, I don't think it probably may have changed much where they find themselves alone. Everybody doing their own stuff, everybody
Yeah.
involved in all kinds of stuff, and people just don't have time for you no more. You know?
That's but it is so true. That is so true. I my colleague that passed, um, she messaged me from the hospital, and she says, "What about bringing Sunday brunch for me?" I said, "No problem. I'll organize and see what I could do for you." But I went on that ward, and many of the people are elderly,
Hmm.
and it's a Sunday, and few people had visitors. It pained me.
Yeah.
It just simply pained me to watch them sit up on the beds and just do nuts, cheering and hoping somebody will walk through that door to look for them. We've really become awful people.
Hmm. Yeah, it is.
We
It
talk
really
about all
is.
kinds of things, but we really not nice.
Yeah, we disconnected, and we disconnect, and we are maybe not even sure how we are doing it or why we are doing it. But hold 1 minute, yeah.
Yes,
Caller, good
sir.
morning.
Pleasant good morning to you, Sir Charles and Brother
Hi,
Steve.
Miss Seneca.
Good morning, morning.
I don't want to add anything to it. What a wonderful program. Have, have a peaceful, a blessed, and a wonderful day to you both and everyone else listening.
Okay, no problem. Thanks very much, Miss Seneca.
Thank
I
you.
like the way she said. She don't want to add anything to
Yes.
it. Yeah, yeah. Because you see, there is that reality as you spend your whole life, you're looking after people, you're taking care of people,
Yeah.
you're the matriarch of the family, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're sending this one, you're busy. And then it comes to a point where you are not able in a lot of times to be able to do those things again. And
Yes.
and the people around you now, well, they're living in their own phone world,
Yeah.
um, and social media world. That as far as they are concerned, you are right. They feel that you're
Yes.
right in being in that room or space by yourself. They
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asks, "Oh, your mother going? Or your father going? He real good."
He
But
was good.
yeah,
He was in hospital for 3 days, and they sent him home.
but they really don't know, that yeah, they're around him, they leave him there, and they have no time for him. You know. Yeah. Good morning, caller.
A blessed good morning to you, Mr. William, and to you, Sir Charles.
Morning.
Good
Great
morning.
program. I'm just enjoying the topic. but the topic, there's two sides to that one story.
Go ahead.
Yes.
The one story that is seeing the man or the woman in the hospital and they're watching the ceiling and nobody coming to visit them. Question is, how do they treat their own family?
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that how the movement, how they're moving, and they just get the way they're moving, and people just staying away, the distancing themselves. Because remember, when you're healthy and strong, and you're good to go, you have time with nobody, you feel you're better than somebody, and then when you get sick now, the same people you wish who you shove by the corner, you wish you had them right now in your corner. That is one side of the
That
coin.
is true.
The
That's
other side
another
of the
side.
coin, that is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin now is you're there for your family, you're doing everything because every Monday, as soon as the first of the month, or between the first, the second, or the third of the month, when time to get a paycheck, pension, aka pension, the Friday, they go with you by the bank. But when time, hospital time come, you can't see nobody, it's like ghosts. You could count the amount of cobweb before you see them. One coin.
Yeah,
You
plenty different
understand?
sides. Yeah.
Two sides to one coin. But for me, I love family and everything, but a distance. This is 2026. Some of them getting a distance. I don't know what I ain't afraid to put what I'm about to say from a distance. Hello, hi. And some of them I just knock off because I just how it is. It is what it is. You might say it's heart wrenching, but sometimes you just have to get your own peace because this is me. God Almighty first and His Son Jesus Christ, then me, and then anything else after. Because sometimes you just leave out yourself and you just reach down to nothing to the grinch. And the only person there to help you if you don't have Jesus or God by your side, I say there. Couple smoke your pipe. You understand? But as I said, great topic. But as I said, it's two sides to one coin.
Yeah.
Okay.
But gentlemen, great program as usual. So Mr. Williams, you have a blessed one, my dear.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, the two sides to every story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes three
I
sides to the story.
recognize that too, but um, sometimes you see that a lot of cases though that is
It's
not.
too many.
Yeah, you know.
There were at least, let me see, 6 and 612. There were about 24 beds on that ward. Okay. There were not more than 3 beds with visitors. And yes, I can say that a lot of the people may have had difficult lives, they may have treated people badly and so on. That is so true. Because we all do that anyway. None of us escapes. I'm no perfect person. I may have said things to people to hurt them. I don't know. Sometimes you don't even know you're hurting people. But it could not have been so bad that we have reached a stage in our existence that the 20 people, no visitors, Sunday.
Yeah, everybody's busy, and on the other side of the hospital, and you see, if people don't go in some of these places and see it, they would not believe it.
That's
Um,
true.
Try and go and look for see and see some of those places when you go, like those geriatric homes and stuff.
Yes.
See how people abandon their families
Yeah.
who have spent their lives and their monies looking after their children. And,
Looking after them in one way or the other.
yeah, it's really something else.
I think we have to talk
Yeah,
about it and we have to feel it
yeah.
because it speaks to our declining values in our society. And once we begin this disconnection, everything is disconnected.
We have a caller there. Caller, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Hey, morning,
Morning, Dean.
Sir Charles. Hey, all right. My question is this: the when somebody comes and acknowledges that they have this issue of flaw in their emotional, and they sit with you, how long for them to get it? Because I know sometimes you have to go back and forth, just fall back into your old ways of thinking, and like in the rehab thing, the stinking thinking is fall back into the stinking thinking, like this is self-absorbed, your selfishness, and you fall back into your addiction and negative behavior. How long in your average you find when people take it? Because that transformation process, to say is have to, first of all, you have to be aware. Somebody has
Mhm.
to show it to you. Then you have to
Mhm.
acknowledge it. Then you have to say, boy, I can't do this by myself. I need a little.
That's right. Oh, you know it good. Yes.
Yeah,
That's true.
and how long in your professional thing that you think that this process? Because I know in some people they say is the year, you know, 2 years of coming
Good.
back and forth and doing it regularly, or is it like, hey, yeah, I good to
Well,
go?
in my experience,
Yeah, right.
there's no timeline. Um, some people are more ready than others to begin the transformation process. Some people are not ready. They start, they stop, they start, they stop. They continue with their suffering because their suffering brings them a sense of identity that makes them who they are. So for everybody, it's very different. I've known people over a year who have done very well through alcohol and so on, and that kind of addiction. And they were said, they say, I'm ready. I'm really ready now. It's been 8 years. I have been drinking, falling down. And it came when the police came knocking on his door and said to him, we have come to get a statement from you because you cuffed on somebody two days ago. He had no memory of doing that, none whatsoever, absolutely none. And he said, I
Mm,
can't go on like this. And he made a decision that he had to change his life. And he went up to his treatment and started and joined a group and joined an A group and so on. And he's doing very well now. And it's for each, it's a moment of grace, I think, sometimes, if I may go that route, that there is a calling and God calls you all the time. And there's a moment of grace when you answer that call and you say, yes, I'm ready. And then even sometimes when you say, yes, I'm ready, you fall back. But it's okay because you can pick up yourself again. You can pick up and go and pick up and go and pick up and go.
yeah, 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 yeah. That is interesting because as we you all started the show, because it's individuals, it's communities transformation, and this idea of we as, because I always say that Trinidad, we have never historically acknowledged the pain that we're going through, and
Yeah,
people, and to get them to a certain point, how we have to intervene in people's lives,
that's right.
from friendship to friendship. I can remember sitting down, my friend brother died in a way that, and I just say, boy, I didn't know how to talk to him, but I say, I just
Mhm.
hear. Anytime,
Mhm.
you're sitting down, and just one day sitting down, he just let go now, and just allowed all his pain and the
Mhm.
anger to come out.
Absolutely.
And this
Mhm.
idea of this, we always want to be the savior, but sometimes it's just about patience and being there
That's
for
right.
people, you know.
Mhm.
And I think people don't know how to care for people. Like I was talking to,
That's a big
remember
one.
talking
That's
to,
a big one. Yes, we
yeah,
don't know how to care for
and we
people.
have to, yeah, we feel we could care, and we, then you realize that we had to teach people how to care, and we feel
Mhm.
that because we have this, you know, you can believe in God, but you still don't know how to care, and so the people feel that because they come with that, I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim, I'm a good Muslim or I'm good with the book, that I could
Mhm.
care, I could love, and I say, not
Mhm.
really, no, as as I have these
Mhm.
talks with people who believers from wherever faith you believe us in. Not really, because you ain't really caring for your wife right now. Look, you loading
Very
up all
true.
the walking everything. They're just standing up and watching because you have man behavior, right? And
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
think that is a duty, there's a duty, but that's not. And we think we're just doing duties and being a man. you're not really caring because men by default don't know how to care. Actually, somebody, yeah. So it's how we teach people and how we get them to that understanding to break
That's
cycles
really
of yeah. There's
Yeah,
because that
that's
timeline
yeah.
is always something very vague and very thing. And we always have it on this radio around development. And I always think it's an interesting thing because development is people and people, psychology and social and cultural and all factors that get them from one point to the other point. And a lot
we
of money
should
spent
tell
into that.
all our leaders that development is people. Tell our
Exactly.
leaders.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, Steve, that's where we're going to leave it for
Okay,
today on the
that's all
program.
right. Sure. Continue next week, God willing.
Let's tell people how to get in contact with you and the foundation.
Yeah, the foundation is situated in Cascade. We are on Cascade Main Road. We 36 Cascade Road. We can be reached via our email address, which is foundationhd@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp us at 4826500.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the conversation as always. And God's willing, next week we'll do it all over again.
Sure.
Have a great day and a great week.
All righty. Take care.
All right, people, this has been on the Inside with Steve Williams right here on New Era TT Radio. Stay with us, right? We got so much more for you in store.
I will always be there for you. No matter what you do, whatever joy or pain that you are going through, I will always be there for you. I will be always there for you.